Peter Switzer. I'm the Director of Maintenance and Construction here at Canada's Wonderland. I've worked here since 1987, and I've been in this role since 2011. So I've worked in various departments and in various roles over those years. So I've been coming to this event for a long time. Some of you will probably remember me from the early days of those events. I had more hair back then, but I'll try and answer your questions as best as I can.
Who wants to go first? Don't everybody rush at once. Milo.
How did Six Flags joining you affect you?
Question was, how did Six Flags joining our company affect us? And short answer is it hasn't. There's been no material change to what I do or what we're doing here at Canada's Wonderland. There will be some synergies in the future. We will have an opportunity to work more closely with some people at the Six Flags Parks, but yeah, no real effect this time.
Thank you so much for the new coaster, Peter. It looks amazing. You swapped us away, so thank you very much. With the new coaster, I was just wondering, with the bin system like Yukon, will we have metal detectors or going through the new ride or anything in case phones or whatnot?
So the question was about AlpenFury and loose articles. Will we have a bin system or will there be metal detection? So we're still working on the development of the loose article system for that ride. We're hoping to be able to put a bin system on that. We haven't finalized whether there will be metal detection or not. It's still in the works.
Okay, thank you very much.
How is the construction going on? Is it up to date or behind? Or?
So the question was about AlpenFury and the construction and progress for construction. So when we started construction, we broke the ride into a few different phases. Phase one being from the reduction break into the station and towards the mountain. Then we have a second phase inside the mountain, and then a third phase, everything outside the mountain and back to the station, or back to the reduction break. Phase one foundations are complete. We've started foundation construction inside the mountain and foundation construction in the phase beyond the mountain. So those are underway and everything's progressing as scheduled. I have visited the factory where the track and columns are being fabricated. That's all well in production. I have visited the factory where the trains are being fabricated, and that's well in hand as well, and the trains will likely arrive ahead of schedule. So we're quite happy with how everything's going so far. It's a long road left to go. Canadian winters can be brutal and unpredictable, so we're trying to get as much done as we can. There's still a lot of work to be done inside the mountain and at the station and everywhere else.
Where is the track and where are the trains and track being constructed?
Ken's asked where the track and trains are being fabricated. So the track and columns are being fabricated in Utah. The trains are being fabricated at a plant outside of Cincinnati in Ohio.
Recorder?
Do you know if the premier trains are going to be modified ones?
So the question was, will the trains be modified from the existing Premier trains? And we have made some changes to the trains. Those of you who have ridden Tigris or Tigris, I guess, or Icebreaker, you'll remember there's a tow board on the side of the train. We have reduced the size of that tow board so that it doesn't impede your entrance and exit into the train. The way we've achieved that is by introducing a tilting platform like we have on Snoopy's Racing Railway. That increases or allows us to have a larger safety envelope when we're moving the train in and out of the station. So that allowed us to get rid of those tow boards. We've also made a few other minor changes, but that's the most significant one.
Calvin?
What was the emphasis of changing the entrance way of how we enter the park?
So the question was, what was the reason behind making the changes to our entry procedures at the front gate? So last year we introduced a multi-tiered screening process for security screening. So we have something called Open Gate, where you walk through that system and it detects weapons. Then we have a secondary screening. So if you pass the first test, you go to a secondary screening. And last year it was a test for us to see how we could make that work. And we learned a lot of lessons through that. We took those lessons and put them into the new plan outside front gate. So we looked at improving the traffic flow, increasing the buffer space that we have for queuing people, both at ticket taking and at security screening. So we think we've done it well, and the true test will be at Halloween. That's when we see our biggest rushes all at one time, right? Everybody arrives at the same hour to get into the park. So we're confident that it will do what we want it to do.
This is a question from our friend Wonderland Weekly, but he noticed that the trees in front of Shockwave were recently removed. So I'm wondering if you can speak as to why that removal happened and if those trees are going to be replaced with anything.
So the question was about the trees at Shockwave. We've got some spruce, or we had spruce trees on the sort of west and south side of Shockwave, and why they were removed and will they be replaced. So we do have construction to do at the ride station for the new coaster. That was one reason for removal. We've also got an end of life. Those trees have become overgrown and they're encroaching on the ride area of Shockwave. So we took the opportunity to remove them. We will not be replacing them with the same species. We're looking at shrubs and maybe some dwarf trees in that area. But yeah, it's something we'll go back.
Edward.
Will you guys be getting rid of Dragonfire?
Question was, will we be getting rid of Dragonfire? So
Wild beast.
That question has to do with the future, and I never talk about what our plans are for the future.
I said that, literally said that.
Anything is possible in the future, so don't hold your breath either way. Yeah, who knows what will happen.
Tyler.
First of all, congrats on AlpenFury. It blew all of us away. And what was the process like for the layout of AlpenFury and everything?
So the question was about AlpenFury and about the process for that layout of the ride. We had a desire to put a launch coaster inside the mountain. So once we figured out a path through the mountain, both entering and exiting, then we had an opportunity to thread the needle through some other places in the park, sort of between front gate and Grand World Exposition. And with that area, we could come up with a decent track length and provide some elements that were unique and special and sort of fill a gap that we had with a multi-inversion coaster here at Wonderland. So it was an iterative process where we looked at different concepts and tweaked it and massaged it and got it to where we wanted it to be. So we wanted it to fit with the landscape. There was a lot of back and forth on that. We wanted it to minimize the impact on our underground infrastructure. We've got quite a large network of underground infrastructure here, and we didn't want to interfere with that. So it was a big process to get it where we needed it to go. So, yeah.
In the corner.
Since you guys are gonna have fire effects on AlpenFury, are you guys considering getting fire effects on Backhoe?
So the question was about AlpenFury and the flame effect. We are planning to have a flame effect on the roof of the mountain. We haven't finalized where or how many of those effects there will be. The question was, will we be putting them back on Italian, or not Italian job, back on Star Coaster? At this time, there are no plans to put the flame effect back up.
John.
For AlpenFury, are you guys like planning to have like any lighting packages like Orion or any kind of those like ones that shine up on the tower like really cool?
So the question was about AlpenFury and the lighting package. So the lighting package is still in development. We aren't going to talk about what that'll be. It's not final yet, but we're still working on it.
Okay, this is about AlpenFury. So were you guys thinking of adding like a third train to that?
So AlpenFury, the question was about adding a third train, and did we ever consider it? So we did consider it. We did explore how that would impact the cycle time and the throughput on the ride. And there was a very, very minuscule improvement on adding a third train. Ultimately, a third train would sit in the brakes and wait to be accepted into the train, into the station. And there was no net benefit of doing that. If the track was longer and we could have a longer brake run, there may be a benefit to that, but getting a longer track in means the project cost goes up, and we felt that this was the sweet spot for this ride, with track length and the number of trains. It does move very quickly. We don't have that long lift hill to provide another block space for the train, right? So once it enters into that launch, it's already in the next block.
Okay. So since there's only going to be 2 trains on the track, will there be a 3rd train for parts or anything, or like a backup in case anything happens to one of the 2 on the track?
So the question was, will we have a 3rd train as a spare? And no, we will not. So we're quite happy with the reliability of the Premier equipment. We don't have any concerns about that. I did travel to multiple parks to speak with their maintenance teams about the reliability of their fleet of Premier trains, and through that process, I've got confidence in the reliability of that future equipment. So we pride ourselves in our high reliability here at Canada's Wonderland. I've got a strong team of guys that keep our equipment rolling. So I don't think this will be any different.
Yeah, so I know like you guys are going to be retheming International Festival to the official name AlpenFury, and I like that move. Now I know like back in the day, International Festival was supposed to compose of 2 areas. One that being the Alpenfest, and the other was supposed to be Mediterranean Village, which never happened. I just wanted to know, like, is it possible, or would you like to see Mediterranean Village be revived, even if it's not in that area of the park?
The question was about reviving a past concept for a Mediterranean village. And while I think that would be interesting, that's not going to happen as part of this project, it's something that we may consider in the future. I don't know it's something that this park needs at this time, but who knows what the future holds, so it's possible.
I was wondering, how long has AlpenFury been in the works for?
Question was, how long has AlpenFury been in the works? Since about the fall of 2022, I guess, is when we started talking about concepts. So, yeah, we didn't get into
About 2 years.
We didn't get into the detailed work until last fall, probably, yeah, fall of 23.
How did you come up with the actual idea about the actual concept of the ride?
So the question was, how did we come up with the concept for AlpenFury? We, like I said earlier, we wanted to have a launch coaster inside the mountain, and once we had that, we were able to piece together other elements to deliver, or we were planning to deliver what we've got on the slate. But it was a multi-step process of tweaking and adjusting and massaging until we got what we needed. It is a process.
Cody?
I know there was Fury 325 and AlpenFury. What is the name behind it?
So the question was about what's behind the name of AlpenFury? Is it related to Fury 325? They're not connected.
I know it's related.
The naming process is a long one, and I offer my 2 cents, but regardless of what we name it, I still have to deliver the ultimate end product, right? So I can't speak too much on the naming process. It does take a long time with copyright and making sure it fits with our park and et cetera. So unfortunately, I can't really answer your question because I don't really know.
Stuart?
Has anyone ever thought of doing like what Florida did with Storm and the Australian parks on the Gold Coast, having a unique back seat that faces either backwards or like steel can where the back seat spins, that has an upcharge, even if it had to be an upcharge, Storm's not an upcharge in the UK, but they seem to be quite popular and have a pretty good line for just a single seat like that, or single row.
Okay.
That'd be something unique with the park.
So the question was about, have we ever explored changing a seat configuration on a coaster to make it unique and different and potentially offer an upcharge to ride that different experience. So we have not explored that. I'm not saying that's not on the possibility list for the future. We do have a large attendance base. We do move a lot of people. We like to provide a consistent, regular service with our operations. So to mix it up, I imagine would provide or introduce new complications. Not that we couldn't overcome them. We've overcome other complications in the past, but yeah, I have not considered it, but doesn't mean it's not possible.
Green shirt right there. Yep.
Oh,
Yep. You.
So what are all the other coasters that AlpenFury will interact with? Like you can go over, like through, or.
So the question was, what other coasters does AlpenFury interact with? So the first one would be Thunder Run. You're diving under Thunder Run. And then when you're in the mountain, you're sort of underneath Guardian. And then when you come out of the mountain at the rooftop, you cross over Vortex. And then you cross under Guardian again with a head chopper. And then when you get back from the east side of the park and you're heading west, you will cross over Vortex second last time, I guess, with that inverted roll over Vortex. And then you sort of punch through underneath the lift of Vortex again. So there's a fair number of interactions there. Yeah.
When you came up with the design, do you have design itself in the Premiere, or do you go to like Intimate or B&M, or do you have kind of like that and put their proposals in?
So the question was, did we work with other manufacturers? And we did. So we received proposals from multiple ride manufacturers. They all provided a general, they followed that same sort of layout that I gave them. And they said, this is what we're interested in. Give me what you think would work in this area. And then we had back and forth with each of the manufacturers. Some of them dropped out for a variety of reasons. And then we ended up where we ended up.
So when it comes to the I completely like blanked out.
No problem.
Peter, sorry to ask, with Premier and how it's done backlots on coaster, just I've noticed backlot, yes, it's getting to the age, but there's been a lot of rollbacks. So since Premier's here, will they be working on backlot? Because I know with the figures and the theming you're bringing for AlpenFury of the fire and the ice, will maybe our old backlot maybe appear again?
So that question was kind of asked in a similar way. Premier is not really involved with the theming side of the project.
Oh.
They provide the ride equipment. So
will
yeah,
they be looking at the ride because it's been valued?
No.
Okay.
No.
One over there.
Has it been difficult to build in the mountain while still maintaining operations on Thunder Run, Guardian, and Vortex? And would you be able to do anything for if those rides hadn't been operating, or you could have, I don't know, closed them? Would it have made anything easier?
So the question was, has it been difficult to build inside the mountain with those other rides operating in the mountain? The short answer is yes. It has been a challenge, but we plan the work to be done at certain times, and we take certain precautions. Building a new attraction in an operating park is always a challenge. It's been easier when we built on the periphery of the park, but building in the center of the park and trying to get equipment and materials to that site while the park's operating has been a challenge to minimize the impact on our business. Having the rides closed or put out of service while we were building, it may have made a marginal difference, but not significant.
So, because you've been here so long, you've probably been involved with multiple projects. What is the most enjoyable part of a new project like this, or what project would you say has been your most enjoyable to work on?
All right, so that's sort of two parts. That's okay. the question was, what's been my favorite part of working on projects and what's been my single most favorite? My favorite part of any project is sort of standing near the exit of the ride when it's finished and leaning there, being a fly on the wall, listening to the reactions of people coming off the ride. Because that's pretty satisfying because of all the time and effort that goes into building these things. You don't get a lot of positive feedback through that process. It's typically negative. We're focused on schedule, we're focused on budget, we're focused on meeting deadlines. And at the end, it's pretty rewarding to be a fly on the wall and to hear those unsolicited reactions. Looking at past projects, the Leviathan project was very exciting for me because I was working with a really like-minded crew of people. They all wanted to deliver an excellent product, and we were all sort of swimming in the same direction. We weren't fighting with each other. Not that happens very often, but sometimes you don't always align. And when you've got a group of people who are all going the same way, it makes it a lot easier. And it's really enjoyable to be able to build it and then be the first one on and ride it. It's pretty fun. Right? So,
what is the process like for creating new shows and entertainment? I know you do collaborate with other groups and organizations, so I'm just wondering what it's like to work with those groups and come up with new shows for the park.
So the question was, what's the process for developing new shows and entertainment here in the park? The last time we did that was with the lighthouse structure. I don't know if any of you followed along, but we built that lighthouse in one night. We built it in about 6 hours. Not to say that we didn't do a lot of work ahead of time, but we built all of that equipment back at the workshop, and we built it in a way that it was modular and that we could crane it in and assemble it in a very quick process because we wanted to do it after hours and not have any impact to our business. So that aside, on the entertainment side, I worked closely with the stunt coordinator and his group of people on developing where would we have the jump points on the lighthouse tower, how we would configure those points so that we could maximize viewing from the street. And we went through probably 15 different versions of that lighthouse until we got to where we ended. But involving that group from the beginning, I think, gave us a great stage to put on that show. And it needed to be revived and redone. Those of you who have been here before know what it used to look like. So yeah, we're excited to have it finished and in business.
A question about Behemoth. So a lot of my viewers always wonder like how the trim brakes operate. Would you explain that to them?
So the question was about the trim brakes on Behemoth and how they operate. Well, they are friction brakes. That's different than the trim brakes on Leviathan. The Leviathan brakes are frictionless magnetic brakes. And they operate with pneumatic air and springs. So the brakes on the main part of Behemoth, through the main brake and through the station, those brakes are all spring applied brakes. And we need air to open them. And the trim brakes are opposite. So they need spring pressure to open them and air to close them. So that we don't end up with a problem that if we lose air or if we have a blown airline or something, that they default in an open position. Because we don't want to have too much energy scrubbed out of those trains out of that part of the route. So the way the control system is built is we're monitoring the speed of the train between different points. So from the top of the lift to a point before the first trim brake, we know how fast the train's going. And we want to scrub a little bit of speed out so that we get that maximum sweet spot of airtime over that first channel. And then we measure the speed in that next section, and we apply the brake for a certain amount of time to get that sweet spot of speed over the next channel. And that's how it works. So,
Thank you.
You're welcome.
In the animation, it shows a lap bar restraint on AlpenFury. Is that the final restraint, or is it going to be a comfort vest?
So the question was about AlpenFury and the restraints. The animation and pictures show a lap bar, and will we have anything beyond that? No. So the plan is to have a lap bar with no comfort collar. plan is to not have a seatbelt either.
Thank you, Peter!
So I put that with a caveat that the ride has not been tested yet. So
I'll test drive it.
Yeah, we'll all test drive it.
that is the plan, but plans do change. So my plan is to not have comfort color or lap seatbelts, but we still have to test the ride and put it through a lot of testing before we put you guys on it. So.
Right here.
It's been here since 1987. Are there any attractions that are no longer here that you miss, or maybe you don't miss?
So the question was about rides that we've removed, and are there any that I miss or don't miss? We've taken out a lot. I shouldn't say a lot. A handful of rides.
Yeah.
Some have been scrapped. Some have been sent to other sites. The one ride that I wish that we still had was the Great Whale of China. I don't know if you remember that ride. It went to Carolyn's, but it was a great family ride. It moved a lot of people. It was very reliable. I think that would be a good ad for our park one day. It's tough to market a ride like that, unfortunately. Other rides that have been removed that I don't really miss the jet stream. That ride was not, it was an okay ride. Skyrider,
Calm down, Luke. Settle down, Luke. Don't cry, Luke. You wrote it in Italy. Just.
Skyrider was okay. I don't know if that answered your question, but
Best way to describe Skyrider, okay? It was okay.
I think what we replaced it with was better. So
Yep.
it was the right choice to take it out and to put something else in. Right?
Yep.
So.
Okay, our final question is going to go to Scott.
Okay, good. Just heard, if in case there's media days or you need photo shoots, make sure you have Ken's number. Do you have his number?
I think I got Ken's number. Ken and I have shared emails or communicated via email in the past on other things. But, yeah.
Okay, that technically wasn't a question. So, anybody who hasn't asked a question yet that wants to ask one, before I just close my eyes and point to one of you three. Okay, the three of you get on the floor and fight it out. Whoever wins gets to ask questions. Your hand is still up, so you're obviously resilient. Go for it.
Okay. Is Behemoth going to be repainted at some point in the near future?
So the question was about repainting Behemoth in the near future, and that's a question about the future. The plan is to paint it. I just don't know when. It's a big job to do that, and we will get there. The challenge is in an aging park like this, there are always projects that we would like to do and projects that we need to do. And sometimes the projects that need to be done get to the top of the list faster than the ones that we want to do. So, what's on my honey-do list? I sometimes kid around that my toughest critic in the park is my wife. Who I'll be at work and she'll come with our kids and I'll get pictures about, do you know this needs to be painted? My wife is very proud of this park. She used to work here too, back many years ago. So she's a really tough critic. So I do get a long honey-do list at home and at work, both from the same boss. I will hang around. If you didn't get a chance to answer a question and you still want to, I'll hang around for a few more minutes up here, but I'll let the rest of you get out and ride some rides.